Hey guys, what's up? This is Stock Retail coming back. I know I haven't been as active on YouTube lately. Kind of two reasons. One, I've been just real busy. You got seasons in life, and right now I'm in kind of an extraordinarily busy season between work, family life, and some personal projects. If you want to see me more often, it takes a little time sometimes to make the YouTube video. So if you want to see me more often, track me on Twitter. I'm pretty active there, even when I've got a busy day. Meanwhile, though, I'm excited to share this one because. I mentioned in a tweet the other day that it's dawning on me just how perfectly lined up Adam has AMC in light of everything going on around us. Someone had commented on the YouTube channel a week or two ago to me saying kind of, "Hey, where you at? There's a lot of really big stuff going on, and in particular with the banks they were kind of talking about." And that is absolutely true. And so I just want to come back here today and share my bullish view. If you've been around this channel a minute, I'm always quick to remind, don't trust bros around here. Do your DD. I'm sharing with you an opinion today. This is kind of an opinion piece. I'll back it up with a little bit of logic, but this is not one of those videos where I'm going to source a whole lot of stuff, but I think it'll become pretty clear real quickly what I'm talking about. And you could go to some of the other videos, for sort of backed up sources to kind of behind what I'm going to say. But what I'll kind of refer back to is if you think about just how perfectly Adam has things set up in terms of the time frame of some of the macro stuff going on. I'm going to pull all that together into kind of one view for us. And then also, if you think about like in the earnings call when he talked about threading the needle, there's some really interesting pieces that just, whether you want to call it magic, luck, or skill, it's all coming together kind of at the right time. And so I just find that really interesting and wanted to share with you sort of the view from my seat on that. So let's just get into the pieces of what's going on around us. Now, you all know about the banks, right? So you've seen like Silvergate, Silicon Valley, we're talking Credit Suisse, everything going on with UBS, some rumblings with some other big banks here in the States, JP Morgan, Bank of America, and obviously, FRC. There's just a bunch more. It's a time when banks are struggling with poor assets that they've got, basically upside down on some things, credit problems, solvency issues, bank runs. We're all learning about, kind of what backs up our deposits. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in the financial markets. Some of it over my head, some of it I just don't want to explain the details in this video. But all in all, you guys have heard, so I'm not sharing anything new, that there is a lot of risk in a lot of the banks. And basically, apes, myself included, have been saying for a couple of years that a liquidity crisis was coming. And here we are. We're starting to be in the middle of it. So that's one of the big backdrops of everything going on right now. Just banks essentially needing access to capital. If you've seen other videos, one of the reasons I was a big yes vote proponent for the Antara, not the Antara deal, but just the whole conversion, and why I made several videos on that, was I wanted Adam and I wanted AMC to have access to capital. Okay. And so banks right now are actually themselves saying, oh man, I need access to capital. So file that one away, hold on to that one. Actually, that's the next point. I guess I'm already jumping ahead for myself. But what's going on, I just want to bring it specifically to AMC, is, as shareholders, we just approved, and even, those of you naysayers, let's ignore the APE vote, which obviously was overwhelmingly a yes, no surprise there. But even the AMC vote was basically 3-1 in favor versus no votes. I think it was like 70% approval, and I forget, I don't know, 12 to 15% no votes. And in fact, if you even look at the percentage of votes that took place, people who actually took the time and laid out the energy to vote, the amount of no votes on AMC common shares amounted to, I don't know, 5 or 6% of common shares. So that just tells me that we're not, people tried to say everyone's against this. Well, that's just obviously baloney, and I think we all knew that. So, 70% yes vote. We've given Adam access to capital. We've increased the shares. We've voted for the conversion. We'll let that lawsuit play out, but that seems, the lawsuit was based on AMC common shares and the common shareholders not wanting that to go through. Well, common shareholders voted 70+%, yes, and it was, like I said, 3-1 ratio almost. It was 2.8 to 1 yes votes to no votes. So that seems pretty clear. So we've given Adam access to capital at a time when banks need access to capital. So hold on to that thought. Meanwhile, the only way out of this, so you guys see day in, day out, you're seeing a lot of talk about the Fed in terms of interest rate policies and just overall monetary policies. I'm seeing a lot of, let's say, DD that seems to suggest, you know, part of the problem with the banks right now is the interest rates. But on the other hand, the Fed can't lower the interest rates because you're going to run into all kinds of inflation issues. So they're trying to get their arms out around inflation, but the act of them trying to get their arms around inflation, that frankly, in many ways, they caused with loose monetary policy. But that act is basically causing all these ripples through the banks because the banks obviously were over risked. That's just terrible risk management. So there's just blame to go all the way around on all of these guys. They're just way over leveraged. By the way, I could probably, maybe I'll even link up in the comments about the video. All of this that's happening, again, we basically described a long time ago. I think I've got a Reddit where I kind of go through the fact that these guys are all over leveraged and this moment was coming. We could see it coming if you were paying attention. So the thing is, though, the Fed's, a lot of people believe the Fed's going to have to play both sides, keep interest rates up, but also basically run the money printer and provide liquidity to the banks to keep them all from going under. So keep that in mind because there are some natural consequences to the money printer. Actually, the first of those, you can see I'm not trying to be a professional here. I put my thoughts together, I threw them together. I'm trying to do this video quickly so I can get back to some family time. It's my Saturday afternoon here on the West Coast. So, forgive me for amateur hour, but I just want to get these thoughts out to you quickly. And I hope it's obvious. I'm just interested in information sharing and not kind of looking for clicks here. Okay, so currency devaluation. So if you're going to run the money printer, especially in light of our sort of macro economy, the environment around the globe, a lot of people would believe what you're going to see is, let's say classic currencies like the dollar, like the euro, etc., are going to take a pretty big hit. I've used this picture because we'll talk a little bit about what are the obvious alternatives at a time when currencies devaluate. Other things like precious metals, and let's even maybe talk crypto here in a minute, alternatives to classic currencies become more valuable. So let's think about that. And all of this is happening at a time when AMC's fundamentals are radically improving. So I've done some other videos where I do source and kind of show you how, first off, it's pretty clear to see, even on the expense side, so I'm not just talking revenues, on the expense side, AMC is actually better now, more healthy now than pre-COVID. And so I've made the case sort of logically, they don't even have to get back to pre-COVID movie revenues to actually get to pre-COVID profitability. Go see other videos on my forecasts and their business model for that. But, besides that, sort of the headline right now is as we're entering Q2 of the box office, Q2 and Q3 look to me to both be well over $2 billion each at the domestic box office. I'm even forecasting, 2.4-ish, maybe even 2.5 plus for one or two of those quarters. So combined, they may approach $5 billion just for those two quarters. Well, those are profitable levels. That's kind of on pace for a 10 billion type year. I'm not saying this year will be 10 billion. First quarter, we're finishing at about 1.7, maybe a little north of that. But anyway, the point is Q2 and Q3 are going to be, in my mind, profitable. We've also got, obviously, popcorn has come out and merchandise and a lot of things in addition to the box office growing significantly. Again, see other videos for a lot of detail on that. But, just look at even, all you got to do is Google the movies that are coming out and look at the entire slate of movies coming out, and it's huge. And so it's just really obvious that at a time when banks are melting down, they need access to capital, and we just gave AMC access to capital. The Fed is going to be, running the money printer. That's going to devalue the currency, which will also kind of increase the value of gold and silver and crypto and things like that. And AMC's fundamentals are improving. So let's just put that all together. Maybe I missed some animation here, but that's fine. So the banks, we just said, they actually need cash. So, the Fed is going to be busy injecting cash into the banks. But you know what else? Let's say AMC says, you know what? I've just gotten access to capital that I know these banks need. And they go back to the bank and say, hey, you know what? I know you need cash right now. I know you're pretty tight. I actually have some access to cash when I can sell these shares after this lawsuit's done. And I can basically trade this cash to pay down my debt with you. Would you like that? Well, The banks are like, yes, please, and probably will offer a significant discount. And now, before you just think I'm sort of speculating, go back and look through the last year and a half, and you will see various press releases, or you can also go through the financials and find it. Like, for example, just in, I think, December, Adam paid off, I don't want to quote the number. I've got a number in my head, but I don't know if I'm remembering it right. But let's say he paid off a chunk of debt, and that was actually at like almost a 50% discount. I want to say it was like a 47% discount or something. Let's just call it a 50% discount. There were other times, like when he refinanced the Odeon debt, other times he paid down tranches of debt that were, say, 30% discounts and 40% discounts. So if you're on the bank side and you're holding the debt and you need cash, Adam's actually in a pretty strong position of negotiating leverage to say, you need cash, I have cash, let me pay off that debt. I'll give you cash, but I want to pay it off at a discount. And the bank is just going to say, oh my gosh, yes, I need that cash. It's like oxygen for me to breathe right now. So I will not at all be surprised if AMC is able to pay off its debt at a significant discount. So all of the discussions we've had about dilution and everything, just think about it's almost like an instant return, because the balance sheet, let's say you have $5 billion of debt, but you pay it off for like $3 billion. Well, the balance sheet just saw a $2 billion improvement, versus the amount of dilution you had to have. So that's pretty awesome. So that's the first thing. The banks are kind of hurting. AMC is moving into a position where it's not hurting. Then, if you think about that Fed printer that's devaluing the dollar, that's at a time when these alternatives, gold, silver, crypto, become more valuable. And AMC kind of says, interesting, I'm invested in a gold and silver mine. I'm still crossing my fingers. They may find lithium as well, but, we'll see about that. By the way, I haven't even said, this is also a time when, as electric vehicles and things like that ramp up, Google sometime and look at how much gold and silver is in components of like computing and electric vehicles and stuff like that. It's not just a currency play. It's also a kind of a materials play on manufacturing. So AMC may be able to pay off its debt at a discount because it's got access to capital right as the banks need capital. Perfect timing. AMC may, benefit from gold and silver increasing exactly as the currencies are devaluating. I keep saying that, guys. Sorry, devaluing. And during this time, AMC's business fundamentals are improving significantly. Watch these next 2 quarters; it's going to be bonkers, which is generating more cash. So in every single part of this, AMC is positioned exactly for this moment in time. So here's the punchlines on all that. In a time of desperation by the banks to offload debt so that they can hold cash and basically fix their balance sheets, AMC is exactly positioned to pay down debt, and I think that's going to be at a profitable discount. Let's just watch and see, but history already tells us that over the last year and a half, 2 years, and now it's just even more heightened that the banks need that cash. AMC is poised to generate profits, so second point, and show, vastly improved cash flow and balance sheet improvement. Again, I've kind of, documented why my forecasts are what they are over the next couple of years. Here, I guess I'll say, as always, if it's a forecast, you're basically wrong. It's a forward-looking statement. But so far, the last few quarters, I've been pretty accurate on the box office forecast and on AMC's expenses and revenue forecasts. So they're positioned really well right now, and they're invested already in U.S. dollar alternatives. We just talked about that. So they're poised to benefit from that. And then finally, I haven't even mentioned yet the movie industry and the way AMC is set up, and I have discussed this in other sort of fundamentals videos. They're set up really well to benefit actually from an inflationary environment, and they're definitely set up, you can even find academic articles, sort of like university studies, that the movie industry tends to do pretty well during a recession. And in fact, that held true in 2008 and 2009. So even recently, the movie industry thrived during a recession. And a lot of that has to do with, if you don't have as much money to go on a big vacation, you still look for some escape. You might go to the movie theaters, it's things like that. So all of that means AMC is positioned perfectly for exactly this moment in history, in my opinion. Checkmate. Let's go.